we should start to see some reductions in the points for the age of the plant. Part 4 is sanitary sewer overflows or bypasses. And this is not limited to the wastewater treatment plant, but throughout the collection system. And so 100 points is the maximum. And due to the number of overflows, we are at 50 points. We dispose of sewage sludge from the West Bank by trucking it to the East Bank plant, and it is incinerated in our fluidized bed incinerator, and we've met all regulations regarding that. New development, that would be new developments at the plant or in our community, which would be, added loading or added discharges to the wastewater treatment plant, so that is at 0. And all our operators with our contractor Veolia Water of North America are certified, so we did not have any points assessed for that. To give you a little bit of background of the sanitary sewer overflows for 2023, it gives you the monthly and then gives us the year to date. In our permit, as well as water quality regulations, even one sanitary sewer overflow is considered a violation, and it's not unusual for LDEQ to say cease and desist all sanitary sewer overflows. But that is a little bit not reality, and because anything such as grease or debris or in the collection line could cause a blockage, and then we could have a sanitary sewer overflow. But the board, SWIBNO, has maintained milestones for line cleaning, line inspection, manhole inspections. And so we see that when we do have sanitary sewer overflows, we're looking to see, are those repetitive? Do we need any repairs of our sanitary sewer lines? And we'll act on this request for a resolution later on the agenda, but this is the West Bank Wastewater Treatment Plant Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Environmental Audit. And it states when we completed the audit and was brought before the board, and our only real concern are the sanitary sewer overflows. As I mentioned, we have a preventive maintenance plan to minimize and address sanitary sewer overflows. Are there any questions on the West Bank?
Can we get some clarity on the preventive measures? Is it an action item, a performance improvement thing, or what is it?
Well, it's ongoing. We have minimum number of sanitary sewer line inspections, cleaning, and manhole inspections each year, and we meet those criteria. These are internal standards that we've set, and we track that on a monthly basis, and we report those findings during our consent decree meeting with the GSO operations.
And is that number decreased from the previous year?
The number of sanitary sewer overflows?
Yes.
It has decreased from 2022. We have seen an uptick in sanitary sewer overflows for the West Bank in 2024, which we contribute. In 2023, we had a very long drought period in 2023, and inflow and infiltration does affect the number of sanitary sewer overflows, but we are addressing those again with our preventive maintenance, and we also have started monthly meetings with networks to look at any repetitive sanitary sewer overflows. So even though we've seen an increase in 2024, in the last few months, we've seen that our concerted efforts have seen a reduction in the West Bank. Now, when we look at the East Bank, you will see that there are considerably larger numbers of sanitary sewer overflows on the East Bank. That's due to the size of the collection system on the East Bank compared to the number of miles on the West Bank. Also, we're under the consent decree on the East Bank. which means we're still doing repairs on one basin. And also just inflow and infiltration that we note on the East Bank is a cause for some sanitary sewer overflows. We have more restaurants, more commercial activity, so we're monitoring that with our fats, oil, and grease program and permitting our grease traps and looking to see where grease has caused sanitary sewer overflows.
Robin, you had something?
Yeah, I mean, my question was, how does it compare with previous years?
Yes.
And so I think.
Yeah, we track it, and I can get you those numbers year after year, yeah.
And I'm just more, I mean, I don't know that I need to see the numbers as much as knowing, are we doing better, are we doing worse?
Yeah.
You
In
know.
fact, I probably just happen to have the 2022 numbers in front of me. So for the West Bank, I printed these out this morning. Well, I have 2023, I have 26, and 2024 year-to-date, we're at 25. So I can get you 2022, yeah, about the same. And we track them according to zones and to causes, and that is always on our bypass report, which is submitted to EPA and DEQ on a monthly basis. So we're tracking our response time. For the consent decree, it has to be 4 hours or less. And we've adopted the same policy on the West Bank, even though we're not under a consent decree.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And if you look at total flow, I'm not sure if I have that. Say for the month of October, for 2024, we had one overflow, and the average flow was 588 gallons. So any sewage that leaves that manhole is recorded and down to an estimate of the number of gallons. So we're not talking about a tremendous flow usually from the manholes, but any flow is a violation of the Clean Water Act, and we're required to document that and report it to the agency, as well as come up with a plan to reduce and ultimately eliminate all sanitary sewer overflows.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnes. Commissioner Cole?
Yes, do you know the percentage of the system that's routinely, yearly monitored? I guess lines inspected, manholes inspected, et cetera?
Yes, we have all of that data. We basically, on the East Bank, have to inspect all manholes within a 3-year cycle.
Okay.
And then we have that we finish the line cleaning and inspection 10% per year. And so we have 10 years. We normally finish those well before the deadline, and then we immediately start with a new cycle. So most of the time, you're looking at probably 4 or 5 years, and then we start back over. So we never get to this long period of time. If we see that we have overflows in a certain area, then we'll increase and go back and do line cleaning and line inspection.
Prioritize some of the problem areas, okay.
Correct. And if we see they're reoccurring, then we may do CCTV or some other type of investigation to see, is there a defect or is there a problem that this area is having a sanitary sewer overflow.
And LDEQ is, I'm sure, aware of the preventive maintenance program and
Right, they're
not in any danger of any kind of compliance order or anything like that?
Well, we actually have a compliance order on the West Bank that we file quarterly reports, and that's based on sanitary sewer overflows, as well as there were some deficiencies at the wastewater treatment plant with equipment not in operation. But we have since fixed those pieces of equipment. And then also with the quarterly reports, we also list our upcoming construction project of $38 million for both plants. Okay. And so really the last inspection that they did in 2024 only cited sanitary sewer overflows. So compliance-wise, I'm very happy with the results of our internal audit, and not to have any exceedances of the design flow of the plant, as well as any effluent violations, is a very strong showing of our compliance effort, along with our contractor, Veolia Water. Because on the East Bank, you're sampling 365 days per year for the parameters we're permitted for, and on the West Bank, it's 5 days per week. So that's a tremendous amount of testing and data, which shows we're in compliance. Yeah.
Very good. So just any other questions about the West Bank before we move on to the East Bank? Okay, I think something that might be useful when we talk about these in the future is to give us a case study on some area that we identified as a problem.
Okay.
And then what we actually did to remediate that, because I think specific examples, I understand overall how we're doing this, but to say we saw there was an issue with multiple overflows at this point. We did an investigation that showed that there was a grease trap that was being improperly dealt with. We remediated that, and that's done. And I think that's a nice
Okay.
granular way to understand how in one specific case you actually utilize your process, because we're
Okay.
people and we like stories sometimes.
Yes.
Okay, please continue.
Okay. So for the East Bank, we have very similar results. We did not exceed our design flow. We didn't exceed our loading for biochemical oxygen demand, total suspended solids. We did not have any permit violations for the parameters that they grade us on, which is total suspended solids and biochemical oxygen demand, which is the organic content of the wastewater. Again, the age of the plant was built in the same year, 1972, and even though we've done repairs for both Hurricane Katrina and Ida, we haven't upgraded the plant where you could say we reset the clock for the age of the plant. But with 38 million and the majority of the money going to the East Bank plant, and that will be a 3-year construction project, that we will then be able to report, excuse me, a new age of the plant year that the last major modifications were made, and that we should see a reduction of that in the next 3 years. Again, our sanitary sewer overflows are a concern. We don't see enforcement action from LDEQ because we're under the consent decree, but we know we're nearing the end of the consent decree next year when we finish the last basin, the Carrollton Basin. And then there will probably be 6 months of monitoring analytical data of discharges to the storm drain system from the sanitary sewer to show that we are in compliance. Our sludge is incinerated at the East Bank plant in the fluidized bed incinerator, so we meet all the requirements of that. We don't have any documentation of new development in the area that would increase the loading or the flow into the plant. And all our operators, which are with employees who work for Veolia Water, have the proper certifications. And then I should mention too that the Sewage and Water Board has located staff at the East Bank plant. We now have an infrastructure project manager 3, an infrastructure project manager intern, and a senior principal engineer whose offices are now at the East Bank plant. So we have more feet on the ground, eyes looking at the treatment plants, both treatment plants on a daily basis. They will assist with project management when we start with the construction project next year. And I feel we have better oversight of the treatment plants with having personnel there on site. So these are the SSOs on the East Bank, which, as I mentioned, we have a larger number of miles of collection system on the East Bank. And we have more commercial users and apartments, things that would, more restaurants that would contribute to grease or solids into the collection system. We still are striving to reduce that number considerably. I believe when the consent decree started back in the 90s, the number of SSOs, and I have to pull that data, were considerably higher. But again, we're not content with 234. This was a reduction from 2022, but in 2024, we have seen an increase in the number of sanitary sewer overflows. So year to date, in 2024, we are at 285, and we had our first quarter of 2024, which next year we can get into this data in greater detail. We're in the 50s and 40s, 53, 55, and 43 for the first 3 months of 2024. So again, we formed our committee with networks and with environmental affairs, and that's when we started looking at those reoccurring SSOs in greater detail, and probably can come to the committee with more data and examples of what we did to reduce them.
What is a good number? So I don't have a good sense of scale. So 234 is just 234. Do agencies our size typically have 400, 50? Like I know you said even one is reportable, but I don't understand.
Yes, well, you have to look at the different cities. You know, with the agency, if you have one, you could expect to have a compliance order, and you could expect to see cease and desist all sanitary sewer overflows.
Mhm.
But in the real world, to have 0 sanitary sewer overflows in a system is not feasible. You know, it's just not.
So again, what is feasible? I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
and for the non-engineers in here, you know, I still don't have a good sense of, okay, 234 is down from 2022. Okay, it's trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
We may be up in 2020 in this current year, but is 234 way outlier? Like somebody looks at this all the time, their eyebrows would go up for that, or is 234 like, okay, that's less than one a day? I don't know. I don't know what that
Yes,
means.
I know what you're saying, and it's hard for me to say that's a good number. To me, I'm very stringent, so I would like to see under 100, but is
Okay.
that feasible? I don't know. With the regulatory people, they wouldn't, you know, when we're no longer under the consent decree, there would be enforcement action for 234 or 200. So we can expect that.
So just before I get recognized, Dr. Duplessis, so what you're saying to me is that in an ideal world, you aim for 0.
Yeah.
You think you're doing well if you're less than 100, and anything over 100 will give us a something we can focus more closely on.
Yeah, I mean, we're always striving to reduce them as much as we can, but then you know, look at rainfall, you look at how often can you go back, and of the number of miles of collection system we have, to clean that line, look for those defects. I've seen other cities that have several hundred, you know, so I think we're in a better better place than other cities, but we only look at ourselves and how can we get those numbers as low as possible. And that's, you know, our response time, that's jetting the line, cleaning the line, inspecting those lines, manhole inspections. We're looking at new technology, smart covers that can detect when the level of the sewer system is on the rise and before it leaves the manhole, that we could respond to it. But when we look at that and we look at our crews and they're responding to actual overflows, do we have the capacity to look for, it's not quite to the top of the manhole. Do I have a crew I can send out to look at the cause when they're busy actually handling
Stuff.
other things?
Dr.
So-
Duplessis.
Oh, great dialogue. A couple questions. So it looks like toward the end of the year on both the East Bank and the West Bank, the numbers tend to, be trending up around November, December-ish. Is that typical, or is that indicative of the time of year or something to be concerning? And then moving into 24, did we see that trend continue?
I feel like that's all the people cooking for the holidays.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's why I was like,
I was
It's
like-
really,
I was
it's,
like-
February and Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras thing.
I mean,
yeah, those things do contribute. Yeah, they really do. And the number of visitors we have in the city, because more and more people are using water, and when you use water, you generate wastewater, and then the restaurants are busy. So you can, expect those trends. It's July, August, September, when our visitors and our population goes down, and probably our water usage and our wastewater usage that we're treating trends down, then we can see those numbers drop off.
Would there be a way to, I guess, proactively increase enforcement on the grease trap ordinance?
Well, we do that year-round by issuing those grease trap permits, and then we're also get all the manifests when the grease traps are cleaned.
Okay.
And then we're tracking if customers don't have their grease traps cleaned on a frequency of at least every 90 days. And also the grease trap cleaning companies are measuring the contents of the trap, the amount of grease and solids. And if that exceeds 25% of the capacity of the trap, then they're issued a notice of violation and
Got it.
required to increase the cleaning.
Okay.
And then another area where we sometimes see sanitary sewer overflows are with apartment complexes. And so if we identify that, then we have a team that reaches out to the management system of the apartment complex with brochures and information about, what can be put down the drain, and, grease, limiting grease down the drain, flushable wipes, different material.
Flushable
'Cause-
wipes. Oh my
Yeah, because those tend to cause blockages, and then that would cause a sanitary sewer overflow. So we have our education program, our FOG program. We work with networks, and we're tracking which lines are cleaned and where we are on percentages of all those three parameters. Are we on track to get those done in a timely manner and meet not only the consent decree, but to have a very good and tight system? We're looking for inflow and infiltration, increased flows due to rain events, so that's usually caused by defect. So we're doing evaluations throughout the year. So,
Is there such thing as like a overflow per mile served or something like that to sort of give us an idea of scale?
yeah, we can certainly run that number, because we know the number of miles, and then we know how many we've had.
Because I think that is better for me to understand if the East Bank and the West Bank are sort of being managed similarly, because one is an order of magnitude larger than the other one. So when we're looking at this saying 234 on one side, and on the other side, it's only 26.
Yeah.
But if it's 26, but they're not
Right.
a quarter of the size, then actually the West Bank is not doing as well as the East Bank proportionately. So,
10%, so maybe they're in line.
Yeah, I can get those numbers and calculate that for
okay,
you.
so when coming to the committee, I think it's very important that we make sure the numbers are not just technically solid, which I appreciate, but come with the context and reference that we can actually digest and translate
Right.
to our users and customers.
All right.
Sure, thank you.
And then this is a resolution for the East Bank, which is similar to the West Bank. It's Resolution 090-2024, and we have had no exceedances, and so there's no corrective action at this time. And again, we monitor sanitary sewer overflows, and we report to both EPA and DEQ on a quarterly basis the number of cleanings and inspections of the sewer system and inspection of the manhole. We also report any repairs to the sewer system. And on our bypass report, which is anytime we have a sanitary sewer overflow, we are giving the cause, our number of minutes or hours that it takes us to respond, and we are looking at the cause of the blockage, if we've had force main failure, and if we've had any sewer pump station outages. So,
Thank you.
okay.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Wilson. I appreciate that. And now we'll move on to Ed Sullivan, our Chief Audit Executive, to present the fourth quarter audit. Go ahead, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you so much. Well, I don't have any final reports to give this quarter, but I did want to give a status of where we are with our ongoing reviews. Right now, we're in the midst of the plumbing department review. It's actually moving towards completion. Detailed testing is moving towards its end, and I've already begun writing the report. That should be out. If not by end of year, then we'll be able to present on those results for Q1. That includes everything, including applications, permitting, inspections, including whether or not, which has been some discussion as of late, of whether utility should even be doing such things at all. It's kind of an oddity that a water utility would be doing inspections of inside of a customer's home. Most places, the city would do such things, but we all know that the water board is a special place and in a very special city, and we have special laws within Louisiana revised statute. So we're coming through that. Just let me know that's going to be part of that. That'll be coming very soon. The second one we have in progress is service connections and inspections. If the plumbing department review is on the inside of the water meter, this is on the outside. So these are all the inspections that are having to do with utility cuts from water mains to new construction and things like that. We're still in the planning stage with that review. We have a lot of planning documents to go through with that. And we just began the hazardous chemical handling repay review. As you can imagine, during our water purification process, our staff touch a lot of very dangerous chemicals like lime, sulfuric acid, these types of things. So we have special pay codes to go through. If you recall, I endeavored to do this as part of overtime, but as we peeled back the onion during the planning process, we said this warrants its own review, right? This warrants its own review. So we peeled that off, and our new audit manager just began this last month. So that's ongoing now as well. So those three things are in the pipeline. Like I said, plumbing should be done before the end of the, certainly both to be prevented at Q1, if not before the end of the year. And I don't see service connections moving any far past Q1 either right now.
And what's the status of our near miss tracking program?
Oh, for the safety review?
Yes, your near miss is.
We got a response from them, and we're going to do a follow-up review as soon as, so our progress is that we follow up on their responses within the time frame that they commit to. I can give you exactly what the safety department committed to, but we can't go follow up until we hit those benchmarks.
So just to update the committee on talking about, we initially discussed that we were very reactive as an agency, and we only sort of responded to when there was an accident or there was an event. And we don't really have a robust system like at hospitals where they record near misses or errors that didn't result in any damage as an indicator of places that might be areas of concern. So we're working on a process to try and understand what are our best practices in terms of avoiding near misses, how many near misses are happening where, before we actually get to a reportable incident somewhere. So that's the background on that.
And I'll check on the timeline of what they committed to, Doc, and so we can make sure that that can be reported as soon as we can. I was comforted that I might have covered this in a previous one, so I apologize, but Civil Service did remove drug testing from near-miss reporting. So that we found that was kind of having a chilling effect on those coming forward. Near-miss, of course, is something to where an accident could have occurred but did not, whether it's destruction of property or an injury. So if that's the case, then we want all of those to come forward. So Civil Service did work with us. We're removing that requirement.
Just as the new guy here, we're not governed by OSHA being a government entity.
That is correct. OSHA's private.
Are we kind of
we elect,
Using OSHA as our guidepost in
Yes, sir.
developing the standard?
yes, the safety department can comment on that better, but we are not required but via OSHA because we're not a private entity, but the safety department does elect to adopt a lot of their recommended, and we do actually record what's required for reporting for OSHA as well in-house.
The other thing to think about is that some of our stuff would be OSHA-like because it's in a facility, but a fair number of our employees work in the field. And so we also need to think about like, okay, if you're out there fixing something that blows up or causes something else, or there's a car accident, those are all things that also come back to near misses in terms of, do we have appropriate signage to know when our workers are on the road so nobody comes by and damages them or our equipment? Are they doing the repairs in a way that's maximally safe in terms of keeping our employees safe when they're actually doing the work?
Yeah, I think having this guideline is going to hopefully decrease our exposure from a legality standpoint as we move forward.
And just a couple high-level updates for the department. We did hire an audit manager in Q3, so we're happy with that. And we hired a new staff internal auditor just this month. He started on 12/6.
What's the total number in the department now?
So 3 and me. So that's great. And we have 2 open budgeting just finished. So we have 2 open spots. One is for an audit assistant, which will qualify for anyone right out of school. They don't need experience for that particular position. And the other is a staff internal auditor, which you need 1 year of experience. So if you know anyone, please refer them to the department. I would appreciate it. And lastly, our 2025 audit plan, we will present on that on Q1. This body will vote and approve that. We're going through everything right now to put together what that would look like. We have the questionnaires that came from our senior staff. A lot that will drive a lot about what gets included for recommendation. But if there's anything specific that anyone here would like included, please let me know, and I can be sure to include it for the Q1 plan that will be voted on in Q1. And that's all I had.
Okay, any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed with our 2 action items, and we're gonna vote on these individually. We cannot take them in globo. So I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution R090-2024. It's been moved by Commissioner Barnes and seconded by Commissioner Cole. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that matter carries. Now I'll entertain a motion on resolution R091-2024, West Bank Treatment Plant Environmental Audit.
Move for acceptance.
It's been moved by Dr. Plessis, seconded by Director Cole. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Very good. Are there any public comments?
No public comments here.
All right, if there are no public comments, any other announcements? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right, seeing no opposition, we stand adjourned at 9:36 a.m. Thank you all.
Thank you. And thank you. Oh, no.
I rolled in right at 9 o'clock. They're like, is he gonna be late? No.
We can fine-tune our report for next year.
I was downstairs in the car like,
Yeah, yeah.
I can't stay in here.
I didn't want to say it out loud in public.
What's going on in December and November?
Backflows and cross connections, right?
Working communities that are much smaller, that are way worse off.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Comes with a whole host.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully it don't rain on the
Yes,
kids.
sir.
You coming tomorrow?
It's at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Years ago, right? And then we outsourced it.
They were never doing backflow.
If I could peel away.
They were never following the regulation for backflow, for having a backflow program. They may have issued a permit for, a user to put in a backflow assembly, but you're required to survey or audit your entire 140,000 water accounts every 5 years.
Oh, right, okay.
So